Chess openings can be super intimidating when starting out because there's just so much to learn and memorize. So today we're covering the 3 best openings to play as a player under 1300 ELO that don't require memorizing hundreds of variations. And these openings are: the London system is white, the French defense is black, and the King's Indian defense is black. And I'll tell you exactly why in this video. First and foremost, my name is Philip and I'm a 2100 ELO rated player. I make these videos to help you learn from my experience and improve your chess as quickly as possible. And if you get value from these video lessons, consider subscribing. Okay, let's start with the London system. Here we go. First and absolutely number one, just like with anything in life, we need to know what is our outcome. Okay, so what do we want to achieve in any opening? This is crucial, so I've written it on the right hand side to help you engrave it into your memory. And if you take nothing else from this video, it is this: every move you make in the opening needs to map to either helping you control the center, helping you to develop your pieces, or getting your king to safety. If it doesn't map to any of these, it's likely an inefficient move or a waste of a move. Okay, so in the London system, we start with d4, d5, bishop f4. And the reason it is so good, let's just play a few moves just to see what it looks like. So, okay, knight c6, you can kind of see as white, we're controlling the center, we're getting our pieces out, likewise as black, and we're getting our king to safety. So we can say right now, we've had a successful opening as white and as black. Some of the reasons why the London system is so good is it's very easy to learn for a beginner, and you can play pretty much the same moves, give or take, no matter what your opponent plays, and you don't have to memorize lines as a result. You get a very stable pawn structure. So for instance, in this case, black could possibly take here, and you get a lot of stability in the center for both sides. Because you get a stable pawn center, you get very consistent strategies game to game for both sides, and especially for you, right? Because you're a beginner, you want to make sure that you've got confidence in the opening and get into the middle game where you've got no real weaknesses in a decent position. And with the London system, it's really low risk that you will lose in the opening or come out with a bad position. It's a very balanced position. White's got a slight advantage typically, but it's pretty equal for both sides. That's what makes it really good for beginners. Now, before we go into the French defense, we'll spend one more minute on this and go into some specifics. This is a variation where black has traded the pawn on d4. What if black doesn't do that? The other themes in this game, in this type of opening, are white might push for a pawn break with c4 or e4, and the position opens up as a result. But if not, we get into this situation where this is the pawn structure. White is mostly going to play for getting a knight to e5, maybe putting some pressure towards the king with the bishop and the queen lining up. Maybe the queen comes here. Likewise, black is going to want to play b5 and b4 and undermine white's pawn structure. So as white, you want to watch out. This might become a weak pawn once the b pawns are traded off. And black is going to play for queenside pressure while white plays for that sort of kingside attack. But it's a very, very stable system to play, as black and as white. Okay, let's move on to the French defense. So when your opponent plays e4, and the other opening we're going to look at is when your opponent plays d4, you've got to be prepared. So e4, e6, that's the French defense. Why is this a good one? For the same reasons as the London system, you have a very stable pawn structure, and therefore you've got a lot of consistency across games. So you can play one game and apply a very similar strategy the next game and the next game and the next game. So you actually get a lot of repetition and you get a lot of experience, and you've got low risk of losing. So this is the typical French defense opening. A couple moves in. A few variations to be mindful of for black is you've got the classic advanced variation, in which case the idea is essentially to undermine white's pawn structure And so as a result, you're going to be playing moves like knight c6, queen to b6, and then possibly after a few moves like this, you might go take, knight f5, and you develop the game this way. And it's pretty balanced. White's got a slight advantage, just like most openings, but you can kind of see your main idea is to put pressure on that d pawn, swing your rook to that c file, get your king to safety, of course. That's probably the trickiest part about the French defense, because your knight and your bishop sort of get in each other's way because they're both trying to fight for this e7 square. So you just have to watch out for things like if you go here instantly, g4 kicks your knight away, and then now you don't really have a safe spot for your king, and white's got a little bit of a advantage here. But aside from that, if you get your pieces coordinated, which with experience you will be able to, like you can even trade a piece here with bishop b4 and just get rid of that bishop if you think it's in the way, you can continue playing the game. So that's one variation. This is the advanced variation. If white doesn't advance, if they play knight c3 or knight d2, this is a common one, knight d2. Black has ideas of getting the knight to f6, right? So because white hasn't played e5, black takes that opportunity, and after e5 and here, a typical line is, again, you can see the pawn structure is stable, it's a closed system, so it's the same ideas, right? You're going after that, whether you go knight d to here or knight g, let's go knight d. In this case, you're still going after that d pawn, but in this variation, the knight to d2 variation is called the Tarash variation. Let me show you one other thing, just so you're across it for your games. After, let's just say play continues something like this, you might consider the following. f6. And this is crucial because one of the key themes in the French defense, not necessarily in this position, but in general, is you want to undermine your opponent's pawn structure on e5 and on d4. So have fun playing these games. They give you quite dynamic play as black, but these are the main consistent strategies you'll find throughout it. And this is just an example of the types of, these are common things you'll see. So if we go back to this is black's setup. This is just an image showing you this is the type of position you want to get as black. Typically, you want to watch out for this bad bishop on c8. That's your biggest weakness, and this weakness on e6 if you have played the f6 move, which a lot of the time is the case. Watch out for these two things. They're your biggest weaknesses. Outside of that, you get a good game and good chances for play. Now, if your opponent plays d4, you need to be prepared. So this is what I would recommend, and this is the King's Indian defense. Let me just take a step back. Worst case, you will have mastered the London system as white because you play d4 all the time, and that's the safest move as you're starting out. So you can typically play d4, d5 if your opponent plays d4, and then develop again in a similar manner, just with colors reversed. So you always have that option, and you get experience as both white and as black. But if we want to advance a little bit further and play some really cool dynamic games, I would recommend this King's Indian defense. Now let's just play a few moves out and see what the position looks like. This e4, d6 is typically where I'd sort of start looking at the position, because this is the main line, and what black has essentially done is given white a strong center, and so white should be happy. White should be super happy here. He's achieved that principle number one, control the center, but black is going to start getting his pieces out, and so is white. And so what we've done here is black, we've done points 2 and 3, which is get your pieces out. We've just got a couple more pieces to get out, and we've got our king to safety. We haven't controlled the center yet, But the beauty of the King's Indian defense is you give white the center only to counterattack the center. So typically a game might continue like this. You're putting pressure on this pawn on d4, and after white goes d5, knight e7, you get into a situation where you've got a closed system and you will play f5 and possibly either f4 or pawn takes e4, and you start opening up that f file for the rook, and you start getting a kingside attack. And the fact that it's a closed system, typically it's a closed game, white's going to play b4 and c5. So white's attacking on the queen side, black's attacking on the king side. Because it's a closed system, it doesn't lead to a hugely tactical mess. And you come out of the opening with few weaknesses as black, which is one of the main things we want to do. We're not memorizing many lines, and we get to maneuver our pieces relatively in a slow fashion towards a kingside attack. And that's the beauty of it. It's a strategic type of game. It's slow paced. You get a decent position out of the opening and a lot of attacking chances as black, which is why when I was in my early ELO stages, I loved this because a lot of the time people would not have played it too often as white, whereas I would always play it as black. And if you're always playing it and you're playing for a kingside attack, I mean, you just get really good at attacking on the king side in these types of systems. And so an idea here, this is sort of mainline stuff. The reason white played knight e1 is because now he can play f3, and after f4, bishop f2, g5, you can kind of see black is already storming the king side. And again, this is by far not over. The game, there's so much life in this game, but it's such a rich position, and I actually really enjoy playing it as white and as black. So you can have really fun games where you're both attacking on opposite sides of the board. So those are my recommendations. I hope you guys enjoyed them. Try them out in your games. Let me know in the comments below how you find it, and like this video. If like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff if you got value out of it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.